What is up, you guys? Welcome back to Me TV Reviews. I am your host, Mo, y'all, and tonight I'm gonna give y'all a quick little recap of what I've been watching behind the scenes. So I will say that I have since there are less shows that I'm reviewing right now because it's drying up right now. It's the summertime, and hopefully we got some stuff coming towards the fall. They're also canceling shows left and right, y'all. And so hopefully, since they're canceling all of the good shows, hopefully they're replacing them with some even better shows. But for now, I've been catching up on shows. So this is one of them. And this one is called Smoke. Now, this one is on Apple TV along with Dope Thief. I also have been watching Your Friends and Neighbors, but I'm only on episode like 2 or 3 of that. So I will say, because you probably like, Mo, who got Apple TV? And I'm going to tell y'all, excuse me, that if it was not for my cell phone service, I wouldn't have Apple TV either. So if you have T-Mobile, although the reception is tremendously awful in a lot of places, the one good thing that they do have as far as a perk goes is allowing you to watch Netflix and Apple TV. So I'm definitely down for it. I've been cashing in on that little perk. So here we are. All right. So this one is on Apple TV. The main characters for this one are Journey Smollett and hold on, let me go back to the rest of the cast, y'all. Journey Smollett, is it Terrence Tehran? I am I am slaughtering that guy's name. You know what? I'm not even gonna do it. Okay. We've got the guy from The Shy, Ronnie. Ronnie is there. And then our girl Adina Porter. Yeah. She's in this too. And then John. I'm not gonna slaughter his last name either, but I'm telling you, when you know him or when you see him, you know him, y'all. He's also in the show. So this is basically based around a true story. I have heard this story on different podcasts because I love true crime stuff. But I've heard this one on several different podcasts, but I actually saw it first on Forensic Files. Like a long time ago. And so I'm assuming this same story is loosely based off of or this show is loosely based off of that story. So this show centers around an arsonist investigator, and the show actually opens up with our main character actually being caught in a fire. His name is Dave Goodson, and he was a firefighter initially. He ran into this building, and he seemingly gets trapped, but then he suddenly sees like a flashlight because he's trying to find his way out. Smoke is billowing everywhere, like the building is collapsing around him. The only person that hasn't gotten out is him, and so he can hear all of this stuff happening, right? And so he turns around because he sees a flashlight, y'all. So he runs towards the flashlight, and he realizes that he ran to a mirror. It was his own image that he saw, that he was trying to get help from. And so then he ended up falling, and he looked up, and there was this beautifully terrifying outline of smoke. And he talks about how nothing exists. Nothing. When he looked up at that fire, the smoke, he saw nothing. So he since then has become an arson investigator. He doesn't run into the fires anymore. He gets the call after they have been put out, and he investigates them. So currently he has 2 serial arsonists that he's been tracking. One of them is actually an arsonist who goes into these random stores, and whether it's a convenience store, a grocery store, it looks like he went into like a like a bulk store at one point, or like a big corporation store, and he prefers to go to the aisle where the potato chips are, and he lights up the aisle with the potato chips. You heard me right. Like he opens up a bag of potato chips. He throws something in there to act as an accelerant, and the store goes up in flames. Like he did that while this lady was in the store. You know, it's several people in the store. This lady is just humming to the song that's playing overhead, and next thing you know, she sees this cloud of smoke, right? So she's trying to find the exit, and she barely makes it out, y'all. But when she gets out, the oxygen that hits that fire when she opens up that door, it's like a whoosh. And y'all, her flesh just starts falling off of her arm. But thankfully, she's still alive. Okay. Thankfully, she's still alive. Now, when he went to set the fire, we noticed, and they honed in on the fact that he has a limp, whoever this is, right? So keep that in mind. All right. So then the other serial arsonist that they have on their hands is, they've nicknamed him the the milk jug arsonist. Because what he likes to do is put grease inside of gallon milk jugs, like used gallon milk jugs, and he will set a place ablaze. Okay. Now, we know who that one is pretty early on. Well, we know who both of them are actually pretty early on in the show, but it's just a matter of catching them at this point. So, Dave has been getting stumped by both of these arsonists. At this point, he's been at it for months. I think one of them has been actively setting fires for like a year, and the other one for maybe like a half a year. And so no results have been produced. And so now everybody's getting fed up, especially like with that last one where that lady's flesh was falling off her arms. So they're sending in help via Detective Calderon. Now, Michelle has her own situations, okay? She is a former Marine. She's did a couple of tours, and now she's back. She's worked her way up the ranks, and now she's a detective, right? But she's got a little bit of a past, okay? Turns out we've been getting all of these different scenes of her talking to somebody and the guy saying, you know, I did it. I finally did. And she was like, what did you do? So at first I was thinking, like, do she know the arsonist? No. This was a guy that she was sleeping with. And he's telling her that, hey, he finally worked up the courage, or the nerve, I should say, to leave his wife. Because she's been having an affair with a married man. And not only is she having an affair with a married man, but the married man is her captain in her precinct. Yes, his name is Steven, okay? And so when he finally tells her, hey, I've left my wife and my little babies, okay? I'm leaving her for you. And she was like, whoa, 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 hold up. Let's pump the brakes, because who told you to do that? I didn't tell you to do that. I never told you to do that. He was like, are you kidding me? So they end up having this entire argument, right? And she finally decides to call things off with him. But she's definitely having some bad feelings post. Like, it's left a really bad taste in her mouth, which, I mean, rightfully so. You shouldn't have been doing it. And you know all right, so anyway, that's not the point. So it's left a really bad taste in her mouth. It left a really sour taste in his mouth for a little bit, but now he's coming around to the idea of them just being able to coexist, right? So I feel like because she had told him that it was over, he sent her to go to help investigate the serial arsonists that are plaguing the city. Because you a detective, why are you working over here? Okay, when you got all these other cases that you could be working. And she is really good at her job. She closes like a lot of her cases that are assigned to her. So when she gets here, she is determined to find at least one of them, if not both of them. It's gonna happen. It's just a matter of when. She's very confident in what she does. Let me just say that. We also get a little bit of backstory about her. regarding her mom. So her mom is in jail because her mom set something ablaze, and she locked her daughter in the closet and put handcuffs on the door so her daughter could not escape. And thankfully, the firefighters, the fire department got there in time. But I guess she was not the only person that was affected by this fire. I don't know if they lived in an apartment building or what have you, but either way, based off the conversations that she's had with maybe her sister or her sister-in-law, other people died. And when she set this fire, I think Detective Calderon or Michelle, she was probably like maybe 9 or 10, maybe somewhere off in there, somewhere between 8 and 10. She was an adolescent. So yeah, she's definitely carrying around a chip on her shoulder. She recently receives a letter that's telling her, "Hey, your mother is going for a parole hearing, and she's got a little brother, or she's got a brother. I don't know who's older. But she's got a brother. His name is Benji, and I'm gonna assume that she's the older one out of them because she tells him that nobody else was there but her. Like the other kids weren't there. It was just her that was there that got caught in the fire. And the reason her mom gave for starting the fire was because and leaving her there was because she says that she was trying to protect her from, life's dangers. She wanted to go ahead and send her to the upper room so she wouldn't have to face like the harsh realities of the world later on. So, very twisted way of thinking is I'm pretty sure there's some type of mental situations happening there, mental disorders. Um I do believe that Michelle also suffers from some sort of mental disorders as well. Based off the conversations that she has with the therapist, but we'll get there. So, it's time for the parole hearing, and her brother is like, "Hey, girl, can you please not go?" And he asked her that when he came to pick up his daughter from her babysitting her. So he's got a daughter. Y'all, she is so cute. She is cute as a button. And her and Michelle are so close. And so when he comes to pick her up, he was like, "Hey, so can you please just not come for me? Please don't come." And despite her brother's pleas, she ended up having a conversation, I want to say, with either the sister or the sister-in-law. And she was like, people died in there, okay? But it's not like she's going to get out. She's not going to get out anytime soon. So I don't know if she was trying to like sway her from coming as well. But either way, she showed up. She showed up, and she goes on to tell them, "Look, I love my mama. I don't have no ill will towards her. But she don't deserve to get out because she's gonna be a repeat offender, and people are going to get hurt." And so at this point, they see her mama like this little old lady. She done put in her time. She been helping out the prison community. She's a beacon of hope in there to the other prisoners, to the other inmates. How dare you sit up here and say that your mama don't deserve to get out? And y'all, Detective Calderon tell them, "My mom ain't even sent me no apology letter. She's doing all this good in here for all of y'all, and she ain't even told me sorry not once." And so that was like, "Is that all you need? Sorry?" And she was like, "Yeah, that's a start, but that's not gonna fix everything." And so when they ask her what more does she want, she just gets so frustrated. She just get up and she walk off because they don't understand. Your mama tried to take you about this. The lasting effects of that, I'm telling you, nah. I might be at every parole hearing too. Like, nah, she got to stay in there, big dog. I'll come and see her next week. Put me on the visitation list, but no, until she get an apology, she got to stay in there. And what happened to the other victims? Will we figure that out too? Um, so that's that, right? So anyway, she's coming to work the case, and like I said, she's got a chip on her shoulder. She's determined to go ahead and get this stuff solved so she can get out of purgatory and get back to actually solving real crimes that matter. So as that's happening, we start getting all of these scenes for one of our arsonists, which is Ronnie. Now his name is Fazano, Freddie Fazano. And he is one of the cooks at Coop's Chicken Shack, Fried Chicken Shack. Let it sit and let it marinate. Y'all, I don't know how old Ronnie is in real life, but when I tell y'all, they got my boy portraying a 43-year-old man, and he looked like he could be Frederick Douglass's uncle. He looked rough, y'all. He done had a hard 4 decades. And so he's at the chicken coop. The only thing that he has is a GED, right? And shout out to the people that went back and got that, okay? You took the time to do it. You went back and pursued it. So he's got a GED, and he really just be trying to stay out of people's way. He don't want nothing. He tried to go unseen because he's out here setting fires, y'all. Setting fires left and right. And so I don't want to say every day, but maybe at least every other day, this lady come in who's being played by Adina Porter. Let me try to see if I can find her name on this casting, y'all. Hold on, wait a minute. Who she play in the actual show. Oh, no, don't do it. I'll come back to it. So anyway, she come in every day, and she's like, yo, Freddie, you know, give me my usual da-da-da-da-da. And so she be putting them on the spot, right? So, or her name is Miss Brenda. Okay. So recently, and Freddie is really shy. He's very, very shy. And so every time she see him, she like, yo, Freddie, give me my usual da-da-da-da. When you gonna let me cut your hair? When you gonna let me clip you up, this and the third? Because she has her own beauty salon. And so he was like, okay. So this promotion comes up, right? Whoever the manager was ended up getting promoted to do something else, or they left to go pursue different careers. And so now there's a position available for higher management. And so he was like, okay. He'd been turning her down every day before now. So he was like, okay, So she was like, okay, come by the shop after 5 o'clock. So he comes to the shop, and he does not have a car. He walks. He walks to and from work, y'all. They be working that man in that hot ass kitchen day in and day out, and he have to walk there on days that he think that he finna be off. They be like, hey, yo, somebody called out. Can you come in and cook? That's where he at in life. Okay? So he ends up going by the shop. She gives him a haircut, and he goes for this promotion. He goes for the interview, and he's very, very, very socially awkward. Like he don't know what to do in these situations. Like he barely probably got his GED. So one of his other coworkers, this white guy, I don't know his name, y'all. I'm not even finna try to find him, but he seems so discouraging. He be trying to, well, he seemed discouraging in some instances, but he be trying to put him up on game in other instances. Like, hey man, this is what you need to do in this situation, da 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 da. And so Freddie don't really be paying him no attention. He be paying him dust. So he ended up going to this interview. The interview went awful. It went terribly. And so he did not get the job, right? We're going to put a pause in it and we're going to come back to it. So before said interview, before management position became a possibility, he had went to this bar, and he was there, and it was this couple there. They were having a good time. They were meeting up with some old friends. Um, they had just recently had a baby, and so this was the first time that they had got out since the baby was born. You know how it be sometimes. If you a parent, that first time out, it seemed like you want to be out forever, but at the same time, you want to call the babysitter every 2 minutes and be like, "What's going on? You good? You need anything?" So they out there, they enjoying themselves, having a good old time. And after a while, they decide to take it home. They say goodbye to the babysitter, pay her, do whatever they need to do, and then they start turning off lights. Well, a few minutes later, here come Freddie coming to set the house ablaze, y'all. The house goes up in flames with the baby inside. Now, thankfully, everybody was able to get out, but unfortunately, because the daddy was trying to save the baby, he suffered like third-degree burns all up his back. But he gonna be okay. He gonna have to endure some very painful skin grafts, but he gonna be all right. So after he set that fire, he goes back to work. And this is when the management position is coming up. He's dressed to the nines because he's finna get ready to go to his interview right after work. And he's just trying to be really helpful, right? Because they got cameras up and he think that it's somebody there just watching the cameras hawk-eyishly all the time, 24/7. And so the white dude was like, "No, ain't nobody watching them damn cameras. They just trying to make sure we don't mess up nothing." He be talking crazy to Freddie. And so Freddie is back there cleaning the grill off, and he was like, "Hey man, you don't need to be doing that right now. Don't do that right now. Go do something else." And so Freddie is like, "Oh, I'm just trying to be." His voice is so raspy, y'all. It's so raspy. It's not as bad as it's worse off than what it was when he was playing Ronnie on The Shy. So anywho, he's cleaning his grill off when the grill just goes up in flames. And so every time he sees flames, y'all, it's like Christmas to him. Like it's like a meteor shower. Like it's like little fairies of sparks are just coming down like around him. Like it's just raining beautiful spark showers. And so he's entranced as this fire is going up, and the white dude is like, "Wait a minute, hold on. What you just standing there for? Put the fire out." So he ends up putting the fire out, and he curses Freddie out, y'all. Freddie was in a whole nother world. So he goes to his interview. Like I said, it goes terribly. But he does notice that this guy has a family. And he brags about just coming back from vacation recently where him and his daughter had went snoobing, something like that, where it's like snorkeling and scuba diving or something like that. So anyway, they had a good time. So as that's happening, they end up going with somebody else, obviously, right? Because it wasn't going to be Freddie. So the new manager shows up, and Freddie is like, "Wait a minute, I didn't get the job?" "No, you didn't get the job." So Freddie definitely goes out for revenge. He's plotting his revenge. He put 12 gallons, 12 jugs, y'all, full of the grease from Coop's Fried Chicken Shack in a cart. He carried them. He carried them until he could get like a shopping buggy. And the buggy ended up flipping over, y'all, and some of it spilled out. And so he was going to have a whole come apart. But he ended up being able to still salvage a lot of it. He took it to these people's house. They had just went to sleep. He put them up under like the decks because they got a deck, right? He put them up under the beams on the deck under the foundation of their house, y'all, and the house lit up. Now, the man had told Freddie that I think he had 2 kids, but thankfully the kids wasn't there. But him and his wife died. So now they really are coming down hard on Dave and Detective Calderon because they need some answers. Now that's just for the milk jug guy, right? I done already told y'all about some of the fires that the other arsonist has set. I don't think they have a name for him. Anywho, we then see the other arsonist set a random fire at this lady in this lady's car, her drop top. Y'all, she had just cleaned that thing. She had washed it at the house. She had shined the wheels. She had shined the steering wheel. She wiped it down with them Armor All wipes. She was finna get ready to go enjoy a nice spin around the block. But then the doorbell had rung, and by the time she had came back to her car, y'all, her car was set on fire. And so the last thing that she saw was the arsonist running up the street. But she didn't pay attention to see if he had a limp, and she didn't recognize what he had on. She couldn't give a good description because he was halfway up the street already. She just know that her car is no good no more. And she had worked for quite a bit to save up enough to get that car. So, anywho. So, as all of this is happening, Detective Calderon was like, okay, we need to come up with a game plan. We need to come up with some suspects. So, they figured that one of the arsonists has to be an active or a retired firefighter. And so I think they rule out the retired firefighters for now, so they start checking the active ones because on a lot of the dates, they ended up looking into the active firefighters, and it turns out they came up with two suspects that were really MIA for majority of the dates that were that the fires were set, right? So they go to talk to one of them. And he actually was there, but he had got a different promotion to like the engineer. And the engineer, I guess, works on like different pieces of the fire truck, but they also drive the fire truck. So even though nobody saw him like on the ladder or anything, he was still at work. And the reason that it shows that he might have not been there on those days was because the Wi-Fi was acting up at their firehouse. And so the way that she came in, because Detective Calderon came in hot, like she just knew that this was the guy. And he was like, do you even know what a damn engineer does? And she was like, no, I don't. So he put her up on game. He educated her real quick, had her looking stupid in front of Dave. And so he just laughed it off. He laughed in front of her face. Now, the other suspect that they went to go see, his name is Archie. And Archie is racist, is as racist as can be. So she starts asking him all these questions, and he basically tells her, I don't really have to explain myself. You got a warrant, this, that, and the third. It gets really ugly. He starts basically throwing all these racial slurs and innuendos around. It was awful. And so what ended up happening was he was gone on a lot of them days. I think Dave had told her that he was finna get ready to go out of town because he also does like these educational seminars for incoming firefighters and just, I guess, for the general public if they want to come to participate in these educational seminars. So he does these from time to time, maybe like once or twice a month or something like that. So he goes out of town for these, right? And so while he's out of town, she actually goes to follow this guy. She goes to follow him, and she don't have a warrant. They had did like stakeout on him, but he went into a house and he never came back out. Right. So one day when they had split up, I think he had went out of town or he might have just been doing something else. She followed Archie, right? And it led her to like deep off in the woods where it was like, no trespassing, this, that, and the third. Like I said, she didn't have a warrant, but she followed him anyway. Well, she got led to this trailer, and so she went inside the trailer and she didn't see him. But when she started walking around, she noticed that the floorboards were sounding a little bit different. Y'all, why does man have a whole underground bunker that spanned for like a distance? And so at the end of the bunker, it led to like this room where he's probably like, he doing some kinky stuff in there. I ain't gonna even say that it's probably legal. He probably kidnapping folks and taking them down there and torturing them, and who knows what he doing down there. But he got straps, he got chains, he got whips, he got all of that, and he even got the red light. And I don't think this is the red light special that TLC had envisioned. Okay, so it's some sinister stuff going on down there. But not only that, but he has a whole ass arsenal. Now, how you gonna unload all of these guns by yourself? That's the question. Okay, do you really think you finna have all of this at your, I mean, you got it at your disposal bar. Do you think you really gonna be able to use all this stuff? I don't understand why people collect so many. And it's only one you. So, like I said, he's giving racist. He's given a predator, like a sexual predator, all the things, right? So she comes down there and she sees all of this. Well, she hears like some movement behind her, not like directly behind her, but like off in the distance down the way, because this bunker spans. And so she hurries up and turns around. He's got on like this army fatigue stuff, and he's finna get ready to shoot to kill. But she ends up shooting him in both of his thighs. She barely missed his femoral artery. And so, um, she comes over and she's basically trying to get a confession out of him that he's the arsonist. And he was like, "You stupid witchy poo. You know, I didn't do it. How would I even have time to set those fires? I didn't leave any incendiary items." I feel like that's what they're called. It's basically the little piece that actually starts the fire, okay? That starts the flame. So he was like, "I didn't leave any of those. I don't have any of that stuff down here, you stupid witchy poo, da 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 da." So she ends up putting tourniquets on his legs and calls for help for him. She ends up putting some of the guns in the back of his truck, and she basically tells the police that come to take the report that she saw him bring in these illegal arms in that he's not supposed to have, because these are like military grade. He definitely ain't supposed to have them. So she was like, "Yeah, you know, I followed him in, and even though I didn't have a warrant because he just looked like he was up to no good, and so I came down here and sure as shit, here he was. And so he tried to shoot at me, but I shot first." And so now they're hailing her a hero. Okay. So it's shots all around for her that night. And remember, she's still trying to prove herself and get herself out of purgatory to Steven. And so he hates it. Now, while this is happening, um, Dave receives news the next day about what happened with her taking out Archie, right? And no, he's not their arsonist, but he was planning like a whole January 6 2.0 repeat by himself down there in the bunker. So he's pissed because Dave is all about Dave, right? He is the ultimate narcissist. And so he's upset. Not only that, I forgot to mention that Dave is an aspiring writer. Okay, he's got a wife, and his wife has a son by her ex-husband, and it's been a bitter custody battle. But the son loves his dad, right? So it is what it is at this point. She seems super sensitive to her son's needs, so that's very helpful, but it's almost like super sensitive to the point where it's like coddling almost. And so this irritates Dave because this takes the attention away from him. So he's an aspiring writer, and he's actually writing a book about his is loosely based off his life. He is an arson investigator going around solving crimes. Okay, finding one bad guy at a time and putting him behind bars based off his investigative skills. So there you go. Now his wife was like, "Oh, okay, that's cute." Like she humored him. Um, but there's definitely some tension in their relationship. He feels like he has to prove himself. Now I don't know what her familial background presents, but she's the librarian. Okay, and the dad, the ex-husband is on track to be a tenure professor, right? So he's going to get ready to move. So that presents a problem because even though the son is going to get ready to go to college in like a year or so, that whole dynamic about the redheaded stepchild, yeah, they have it's tense between him and his stepson. So, like I said, he feels like he's getting coddled, but they just received the news about the dad being on track for tenure professor, and so he has to relocate to Boston. Now, I feel like they're in California somewhere, and so that's all the way across the country. Now, thankfully, he is going to get ready to go to college, but until then, he's going to be staying with them full time, which, I mean, their relationship is already, it seems like it's teeter-tottering. But they making it work, right? But this is gonna put a damper on that. So one night, while when they get the news about the dad, she's telling him, Elliot, because that's the son's name. Elliot is gonna have a whole come apart. He's gonna be upset. So he comes in, and she's trying to talk to him. And he was like, I don't even want to talk about it because I'm gonna have a whole effing come apart. But it's just the way that he's talking to his mom that rubs Dave the wrong way. She gives this little boy too many freedoms, okay, verbally. And so him and Elliot end up getting into this back and forth. And, Dave is like, I'm just trying to be here to support you in any way that I can. I'm just trying to be helpful. Okay, I'm just trying to make this easier on everybody. And he was like, you know what? The little boy was like, you know what? I could give two F's basically about what you're trying to do. And so Dave is literally finna get ready to snap off on him. He does for a second, but he catches himself. But it scares the bejesus out of his wife and for sure the son, right? So he was like, you know what? I'm gonna go take a walk. So he ends up leaving. And oh, her name is Ashley. I'm sorry, y'all. So he ends up leaving, right? And of course she has to go console her son. Now when he leaves, he goes to go set a damn fire. Y'all, he's the other arsonist. He's the potato chip arsonist. Whew. And so when he goes to set this fire and he comes back, um, when he's leaving out, rather, he's leaving out really fast. And so they end up getting the footage from it. And Detective Calderon is the one that notices that he does not have the limp. I'm sorry, I think she had noticed the limp was gone in another video clip prior to that fire being set. So either way, she's noticing these little things and he's trying to start changing up his habits to throw her off a little bit, right? He done put her up on game as far as like trying to educate her about fires and what to expect. But now that she's comprehended that and she's starting to try to put the clues together, it's like, well, you're getting too close. So he had ended up going to go do one of the seminars, like I said, and he ended up running into his ex-wife. Now, we didn't know that she was his ex-wife at first until they had met up later to hook up. Now, apparently they had been doing this for quite some time. I want to say maybe like 5 years. And so when he was doing his presentation earlier in the day, he had got pissed off because this lady had basically like showed him up at his own presentation. She was giving him like science stuff and basically just telling him like, hey, so science tells us otherwise. And he was like, look, lady, I'm just here to try to educate you. And she was like, oh, but I'm actually already educated, so I don't really need you here for that. Just embarrassing the hell out of him, right? So because he was so embarrassed, he couldn't perform. And so um he couldn't perform, and she was like, you know what, I'm so sick of this shit. Out of the 5 years that we've been doing this, you've never not been able to perform. When have you ever needed a pill? And so he goes on to reveal that he he had tried to put it off like the lady had showed him up like in a negative way, and she was like, oh, you just mad because somebody had criticized your work. You know, forever the narcissist, right? And so she ends up telling him that she's done. She's done. She's cutting it off, right? So he's pissed about that, and then he hears about Calderon being the hero while he's gone. So he was like, oh, this is the pits. So then when he gets back, he has that blow up with the son, but then he apologizes the next day after cooler heads prevail. And he was like, you know, I'm so sorry. You know, nobody gives us a handbook or a guidebook on how to parent. And so my apologies. So they seem to have a kumbaya moment. Everything seems okay. The kid is a runner. And so he's got like is it long distance? Long distance practice. He's a long distance runner. So anyway, he's got practice after school. So Ashley was like, hey, I'm going to be busy, but you know, if you really want to do something nice for me, if you want to get back in Elliot's good graces somewhat, then just pick him up from school. Well, he had gotten so caught up in trying to write these chapters for his book, he had forgot to pick Elliot up from school. So Calderon had picked him up, or I'm sorry, he had came down to the office because he was looking for Dave. And so when he came in and he saw Calderon, he was like, hey, where is he at? And she was like, I don't know. What's up? And he was like, oh, he was supposed to come and pick me up from school. And so she was like, that's okay, I'll take you home. So the whole time that this has been happening, once the two suspects that she initially thought were behind the arsons, once they were ruled out, she started looking at Dave like she had a whole board laid out for him, right? Because he's not active anymore and he's not quite retired, but he does have all of the opportunity to set all of these off, right? And it turns out he had been in some of the areas conveniently when he got the phone calls. So she's been doing a little bit of the background work, and she also had found out that he had had two previous partners before she had came in. And I don't know what happened to the one partner, but Ezra, who's being played by our guy John, he was the last partner, right? But Harvey, who is Dave's boss, which is like the captain for the fire station, he couldn't tell her any information because it was like an NDA was signed, like it was a gag order. It was a gag order. So like the case was sealed. And so while she's got Elliot in the car, she's asking him, does he know anything about Dave's former partners? And he was like, no. Hell, I didn't even know that he had a partner until today when I came in looking for him, and there you are. Okay. So she has to go do a little bit of recon by herself. She does end up finding like a business card. And she somehow manages to track him down. I don't remember how she does, but she ended up finding him while he was like filming filming these people getting it on in this trailer. And so she initially thought like he was doing like some revenge porn or something like that, but in reality, um he actually does like this type of video work. He's a videographer, a filmmaker, if you will. Just of the adult kind. He's the adult version of that. Okay. So he was like, yeah, you know, I do some really quality work. You know, if you ever need some help, I got you. So after a long night of drinking, the next morning she stays with him to make sure that he's okay, because he was hitting the bottles hard, y'all. He was tossing them back. She didn't drink as much as he did. So he was tossing them back. And the next morning, when she's finna get ready to go, he ends up telling her what happened. And so he ends up showing her the video where him and, because he had been working with Dave for like a year at this point. And so Dave had kind of like tried to present it like it was like an initiation because of his 1 year anniversary or whatever. And so to commemorate the 1 year of them being partners, he had he had Ezra go out and set a fire to this trailer that he claimed was abandoned, right? But when he set the fire and the fire went up real fast, y'all, we started hearing all types of animals inside that trailer. I'm so sorry, y'all. I should have gave y'all a disclaimer. Disclaimer. Harm to animals. Um, it was all types of animals sounding off in that trailer. They had got stuck, and he tried to open up the door to set them free. By the time, y'all, the fire had already like set the whole place ablaze to where he couldn't even touch the door handle. Like his jacket had caught on fire. And so he got really pissed at Dave. I don't know if he was ever charged, but like they weren't partners after that. And there was a gag order that was placed on it. So there's that. Okay. Um and so he was never like penalized for it. Dave was never penalized. They thought it was all Ezra's fault, which was insane. So now she's really got Dave on her radar. So now she's starting to like go back to all of these different places. She's calling all of these different witnesses that made statements at these different fires, and none of them can really corroborate anything for her. But then she had a hunch. And just like when it seems like her luck was down, y'all, she threw a quarter or some type of silver cent, um, a distance from the stop signs. Like it seemed like at all of these places there was a stop sign, and so every time she got to the stop sign where the fires were set, she threw a quarter in a direction, and lo and behold, I don't know if she found an incendiary device at each setting, but she found at least one. And so this kind of solidifies that Dave is her guy, right? Because of the particular incendiary that he uses to set the fires. Because he has showed her when he was educating her about how fires are set and the devices that are used and all of that, he had the exact same ones. So he's definitely on her radar now. So she's doing all this recon behind his back. And like I said, she had picked Elliot up from school and dropped him off. She had met up with Ezra. And so when she dropped Elliot off at the house, well, right before she had pulled up, Ashley had came in and was like, hey, like she was trying to remind him without saying, hey, you forgot my whole son at school. It didn't dawn on him, though. He never thought about that little boy. So she was like, are you freaking kidding me? You forgot Elliot at school. And so he was like, are you kidding me? You know, he's a track star. He can run. He can run to the house for all I care. I guess, you know, it's not that far away. I think they live like 2 miles away from the school. But that's not the point. That is not the point. She asked you to do it. You said you was going to do it. And then you forgot about it. And now you're trying to flip it on her like it's her fault. So they argue about it. And she, while they're arguing, she basically tells him his book is trash. Because she's a librarian, right? And, you know, she knows some people. And he's been shopping his book around as well. And so people have been sending him emails back about what he can improve about the book. And she was like, baby, I read that. And it is not. It is not. You just don't have it. Like, it's very lackluster. So by this time, she done finished snapping off with him. Y'all, Elliot done came in his room and closed his door. That's how loud that was. And how much they weren't paying attention. And it's crazy because his room is literally right behind where she was standing. It's sad, y'all, but it's giving very much narcissist. And he's a cheater, too. Ashley, you be careful, girl. So I'm trying to think what else happened. So he done set all these fires. He actually was the one who set that lady's car ablaze, too. Okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I'm missing that's really. Oh, so to catch the milk jug killer, I'm sorry, not the killer, Lord, the arsonist. Calderon has came up with a bright idea because her brother Benji collects money. He takes bets. on cockfighting. And so they have, like the little I don't want to say trackers, but the bands on them. And so she figured, since she had been turned down previously for like more electronically savvy devices, she figured that they would put chicken tags in all of the bags. And because it's only two stores that have these black bags that are particularly used by the milk jug arsonist, which is probably just like the stores that are near his environment where he lives at, um, she was gonna put chicken tags in them and just keep the numbers, and then that way they can know like who bought what once they look at their surveillance cameras. It makes sense, right? So she did that, and now it's a waiting game at this point. I think I've caught you up on everything. Oh, they also have like one night where they're just like looking tirelessly over everything. And we find out, and we don't know how true this is, but we find out Dave ends up telling Detective Calderon that his mom had basically abandoned him when he was a kid. Like, she just up and went missing. I think while he was at school or something like that. And so they spent weeks, months, years looking for this, or weeks or months looking for this lady. And it turns out she had literally just ran away to be with her lover. So he's got a complex. Okay. He probably hates women and hates to be shown up by women. And that's why he got so upset by that lady showing him up at his own damn presentation. So he, after that day, finding out that his mom had ran away with her lover, he basically like wrote her off as dead in his head. She no longer existed to him. Yeah. So there's that. Okay. His book is awful. His marriage is awful. He's an awful step parent. He's setting fires. He's killing people. That's it, y'all. So something happened with Detective Calderon. I can't remember. Something happened with Dave. I think he had told them that he was finna get ready to head back out of town to go do a presentation. And he actually went to go set a fire. And it was like at a really small convenience store, right? So he went to go set a fire. Just, I guess, blow some steam off. I don't know. I can't remember. And so as he's setting this fire, he's getting in the car and he's humming along to the tune on the radio. And I don't know if he just wasn't paying attention or if the other driver wasn't paying attention, but either way, he got T-boned out of nowhere. The other the other driver hit him so bad that their car went airborne and flipped a couple of times, and then it landed like back on his tires, but the person was obviously dead. And from the looks of it, the most recent episode ended like with his head on the steering wheel, but it looks like the airbag deployed. So it looks like he might be spared, y'all. Like I said, this is loosely based off, if I think it's the same story. Yeah. He survives this car crash. Um, So I'm just glad that Journey Smollett is back. I'm glad that Adina Porter is on here. I'm glad that Ronnie is on here, as much as I hate his voice in this show. But it is what it is. He's Ugandan. Uh so yeah. But I like the show. I hope you guys take the time to look at it if you have Apple TV. If not, use your perks depending on what cellular brand you have. Tap into it, okay? You might be surprised. Um so that's it, y'all. I think they have new episodes coming out like once a week. So episode 6 is supposed to be coming this Friday. I gave y'all like a whole rundown of 5 episodes. If I forgot something, y'all, charge it to my head and not my heart. I really tried to get all the main parts. Um, she did eventually make up with Captain Steven. Not like make up, like physically make up with him, but they are learning to just be nice to each other, be civil. And so she's had him look into a couple of things for her. So it seems like they're getting back on the right track, and she seems to be getting a little bit of backup as far as like people believe in her when it comes to certain things. So I think he was able to actually get her the information about Ezra, and that's how she found him. So there you go. Y'all let me know what y'all thought about it, okay? You can reach me at, or think about it so far. You can reach me at Me and You TV Reviews on Facebook and on Instagram. You can also reach me at My TV Reviews Podcast without the S on the end at gmail.com. I thought this was going to be a quick summary, y'all. This turned out to be an hour, so I hope y'all enjoyed it because my mouth is dry. I will see y'all next time. Y'all, please love on your people. Stay safe out there. And until we meet over the airwaves again, I am Mo, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.